This is such a good point. I wanted to flesh it out. I've long referred to narcissism as interpersonal colonization and the tyranny of perspective. When we really kind of boil down narcissism to how it manifests in kind of individual interpersonal relationships and also social systems and kind of, civilization level behavior, it amounts to the tyranny of one perspective over another. It is the kind of human pathology that drives colonization, the belief that my subjective understanding of the reality around me is the one true subjective reality, and I'm going to force you to live in it, right? That narcissism is interpersonal colonization. And so whiteness functions as the grandiose false self within American culture, rooted in the colonization process. That it's a posture that's really meaningless. What is a white person? I'm German and Irish and French and just a mixture of all these, European cultures or European whatever you want to call it. But whiteness was created basically, as a tool of hierarchy, which is always what the grandiose false self does. But the grandiose false self is empty, right? It's masking a posture of emptiness. I think, Sinners was such a great example of the cultural vampiring of whiteness, right? That to me, that movie was a beautiful metaphor about the way that American culture is rooted in black culture and not this idea of whiteness, that whiteness is a culture of dominance. It's a culture of destruction, not of creation. Right? What is it created really? Again, it's just this kind of smokescreen. And so, I think narcissism has become such a word in the zeitgeist that it's almost one of these words that's both like over talked about in like useless kind of pop culture nonsense and under talked about in the reality of what it actually is. Because I'm always pointing out the difference between pathological narcissism and like what the DSM says. The DSM says you have narcissistic personality disorder if you have 5 out of 9 behavioral traits. But to me, it completely misses the point, like most of our discussion on mental health when we're focused on behavioral traits, because it's actually about how the internal consciousness is getting to those behavioral traits. And pathological narcissism isn't a collection of traits. It's the entire operating system of consciousness for people that inverts reality, that lacks a container of self. Right? Because the narcissist, whether it's cultural or, in whiteness or individual, because they lack a self, they can't take responsibility. They can't self-reflect. They displace everything onto the containers around them, which is why they need a scapegoat. And so you see the logic of narcissism, the individual pathology of narcissism reflected in social systems everywhere. Capitalism, Christianity from certain perspectives, but truly, narcissism is interpersonal colonization. They colonize reality for people and they pull people into their reality and force them to live there.